Hey, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I've been getting a lot of requests to do some Super Animal Royale tier lists. So I think we're going to start pretty easy and uncontroversial, and then we're going to gradually get higher and higher until we hit the peak controversy, which is going to be around a 200 to 300 person tier list at the very end. But today, we are going to be looking at competitive gun tier lists. Now, this list is going to look a bit different. One, it's not going to have an F tier because in the competitive hands of a player, there is no F tier weapon. So we are just going to remove that tier and scrunch together the guns just a little bit more. Now, this is still going to be through the eyes of a solo player, but what you're going to see is the higher accuracy guns, the guns that are going to be used more by competitive players than casual players, are going to be way higher on the tier list. Let's start and let's get right into it. Here at the bottom of the D tier, we're going to see the same two weapons in solos. Those dart guns, even in the competitive sense, they're going to be even worse in competitive because of the player movement abilities, and it's going to be hard to land and it's not going to be that valuable, so we're going to skip right past them. Now when we get down to the gray pistols, now they're going to be a little bit lower because players are going to once again be better at movement, and they just do such low and insignificant damage from range that these weapons aren't going to be valuable at all. Now next we will see the gray AK and the gray Magnum. The gray Magnum still remaining in the lowest tier, and that's just going to be, again, once again, the lower damage from range, the accuracy reasons. These guns are not going to be picked up unless absolutely needed in a competitive game. Rounding out our D tier is going to be the bow. Now, in the best hands of players, the bow will dominate, but even the green bow is not as good as we will see the blue bow place in this list. Heading right along to the C tier, we see our next set of pistols once again sticking together: green, solo, and dual pistols. But next, it's going to get a little bit weird. We're going to be keeping those green and gray SMGs right next to each other. Why? Well, when we compare the stats between an SMG and a gray AK, the SMG, for several reasons, is going to be just a little bit better than the AK, but there's not a lot of good reasons to separate the gray and green weapon versions between the gray SMG and the green SMG, and actually our next two weapons, the gray shotgun and the green shotgun. In competitive, really, a shotgun is a shotgun when it's those two variety of colors. And so whatever gun you get, it's going to be about the same level of use for those two. The dart flies are going to lose their high ranking and be together down here at the bottom. The projectile just moves too slow. Players have way too good of movement, ducking behind boxes, trees, and buildings, so the weapons are going to be a lot less useful. Now, the green Magnum will be here at the top of C tier, and that's just because while you don't want to be picking that up over a lot of these other weapons, it will still be useful. Now, the gray hunting rifle still is going to go above a lot of these different green and blue weapons because, once again, its ability to ping off that armor, high range, and good accuracy. Rounding off the top of our C tier, it's actually going to be the minigun. Now, the minigun, while in casuals, is going to be way higher because if it's skill just to hold down mouse 1 and have no movement and just to spray these players down running through these small chokes, you are going to get punished easily if you are using the minigun in competitive. At the bottom of B tier, we have the green AK. Now, the green AK, we're actually going to toss above the green SMG here because of the added damage. It is just going to be a little bit more useful because competitive players love to keep their space, to love playing on the outside of your screen. So for damage to distance reasons, it's going to edge out that green SMG. Now at the bottom of B tier with this green AK, we're going to see the purple Sparrow launcher. Now, I would say that the Sparrow launchers are way more valuable, and that's why they are higher tier here in the competitive list. But the purple is going to be close to the bottom, and we will see where the gold is in just a second. Now, next, we actually see a difference here between the dual pistols and the solo pistol with a blue shotgun in between. Now, the only reason why these weapons were actually swapped in this list is because of results. We see a lot more players actually picking up and equipping dual pistols and having higher results. So we figured they're going to detach for the first time in this tier list. And as well as the shotgun, honestly, finds a good place in between those two guns. Now, right above these pistols, we do have the blue AK. That blue AK is going to be the cream of the crop for a lot of this middle of the game power for range and damage. Purple BCG way higher than its casual rating because a lot of these competitive players know how to use this weapon in an amazing way, either to zone with the slow of the eggs, to bounce and get some damage that you would otherwise not get, and for several other reasons. Now the bow is going to get this top of the B placement because in the hands of competitive players, this weapon is very useful, not just for the Sparrow track, but because of the damage and the movement capabilities as well. Now, getting left behind in the B tier, we are going to see the purple silence pistol. Now, while this weapon is good and better than several other weapons that we've talked about, it's just for result reasons that we talked about with all of our competitive players. It's going to have to get left behind, and we're going to have to see the dual pistols somewhere else. In our second to last, or second to the top gun, we do have the gold Sparrow launcher, just because it is a lot more useful in a competitive sense to be able to track players, to know where they're moving, and to use that damage with a little bit higher accuracy than a casual player would find. Next, we have the Thomas gun at the very top of the B tier. Now, this gun is actually probably one of the more controversial ones that we've seen in the competitive list so far. While it was an S tier in the casual list, it's going to be B, just because its damage and its range against players of this quality, it's not going to be as effective as some of these other weapons. Back here in the A tier, we're going to be rounding off the bottom with the green and the blue hunting rifle. These guns in the hands of competitive players can be so valuable, so useful, and that is why this is going to have a way better, more respectable placement in the competitive tier list, who know how to have the perfect instant reloads, who know when to switch guns off of the hunting rifle instead of just constantly spamming it. Now, the blue SMG is actually going to top the blue AK, but it's because a lot of players love to use that as a secondary close range weapon. Players will get absolutely shredded in the event of another competitive player entering your small POI. If you're at the south side of Pyramid, if you are at one of the left side of the research jails, you're going to want to have this weapon to be able to shred them. And a lot of the same sentiment comes from our next guns. The dual purple pistols, which we have seen insane amount of results with, mostly from the player Evie, who absolutely dominates with this weapon, tournament in and tournament out. Now, the blue Magnum is still a very good gun, but it's not going to be as good as some of these other guns on the list, but it is going to have this respectable halfway through the A tier placement. Hitting our next guns, we're going to actually see only purple and gold varieties of weapons. We're going to see the purple Deagle, the purple M16, and the purple Jag as our next three weapons. Now, these cannot be considered S tier weapons because of the sheer quality of these next weapons in the hands of competitive players, but at the same time, players are going to love to pick up these weapons as they're going to be very good options for keeping themselves safe and taking out other players. In the second to last slot in the A tier, we do have the golden Thomas gun. Now, it is actually going to be one of the only gold guns to not end up in this S tier with its brothers, the Dartfly minigun and Sparrow launcher. And that's just going to be because a lot of the competitive game is being able to have those range capabilities, and the Thomas gun just falls a little bit short compared to some of these other weapons we're about to see. In my opinion, and in almost every single competitive player's opinion, the purple silence pistol should be an S tier weapon, but we decided last second to leave it out because the sheer quality of the either higher rarity weapons or just the results of the weapons are going to be a little bit better for the rest of the guns. But the A tier is going to be rounded off with that purple silenced pistol. For our very last tier, the S tier of the competitive tier list, we're going to be starting off the bottom with the purple sniper. The purple sniper is so good that is going to be the only purple in our S tier, with its high range capabilities as well as able to honestly have some very good movement with it as well, it's going to be one of the best weapons to pick up in competitive play. Our next weapon is going to be the gold M16, and that's only going to be because holding down mouse 1 is going to have a bit of the opposite effect that it did in casuals. In casuals, you want to just honestly hunger down in one spot, be able to press mouse 1, aim a little bit better, and win games. But in competitive, you will constantly be moving. So these guns that can pop 1 or 2 shots and move are going to be a little bit better than the M16. One of those guns that I just discussed will be the Golden Jag. Now, the Golden Jag is up here because there is no better close range option. You can instantly end someone's game with high accuracy, with high speed, with high damage. And that is why the Jag is one of the most picked up weapons in all of competitive play. And just having a Jag actually gives you a fear factor that makes players not want to push you. Now, if we were talking about the purple sniper being awesome, we have to talk about the gold sniper. Now, the gold sniper doing that extra damage, a little bit of extra accuracy time is going to make it so valuable, and it's going to end up 4th in the competitive list. In our 3rd place of S tier, we're going to have the golden deagle. In the hands of, I would say, 80% of competitive players, a golden deagle is going to be absolutely deadly. Its accuracy, its speed, the ability to move and pop off 1 or 2 shots, and its damage is just going to make this weapon a top 3 weapon. Now, unlike the casual tier list, the gold BCG is going to be up here, and it's going to be our number 2 weapon. Its capabilities to 2-shot with 2 direct hit eggs is absolutely nasty. In end games, the ability to zone once again slow, ping for armor, ping for health damage is absolutely crazy, and this weapon deserves all of the respect in the world in the competitive sense. We talked about it once, we're talking about it again. The gold silence pistol is our number 1 weapon for competitive gaming. It has the highest time to kill other than some of these crazy weapons that have a little bit of a different stat line. The gold silence pistol is going to be your go-to for instantly shredding someone's armor and HP while still being able to instantly move and reposition. It is the best of both worlds. It is the absolute top most used weapon in competitive play. Hey, these have been our 2 lists. If you are a competitive player, feel free to comment what you thought the best and worst placement of a gun here was. Let me know some fact that we maybe forgot, or tell us why you thought our lists were perfect. I have a feeling they're not gonna be perfect. Once again, guys, these are all just based on opinions. We just tried to gather a large group of us to be able to have some more informed opinions on the casual and competitive landscape. I appreciate you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of these other more controversial tier list videos coming out soon. AoE hate, AoE hits,